Okay, let's go.
He wants to jump
1,000 cars. Sir, you have 1,000 cars.
I don't think I'd attempt to try this stunt.
Or we owe this horsepower to Uncle Sam.
Too many cars.
Car. Roses would be.
Like I put my beer belly on it.
If you can't immediately tell somebody how many cars you have,
you'll really give those uppity yuppies something to think about.
Stay on the bar. Don't go off the bar with your Bronco.
1980 Volvo horns, which are like,
Yeah.
I want to have a man's coolant.
and he's like, "Oh, I thought it'd be small. It's for a small car." And I'm like, "Yeah, but it's still an automatic transmission. They're never going to be light."
It's definitely going to have to crash.
Starting off with Brad buying another car.
That's the West. Internet.
You know, is this a Nigerian oil print?
I also wish you drove a tan Camry.
Anyways,
Anyway,
that's a
horrible,
very
horrible podcast content.
very
Talking about a picture.
inside joke.
It loves to be driven hard.
Of
There we go.
What it looks like.
All right. We're recording, so give this a beat. I don't know. We can include that in there. Who cares? Here we go. We're always off the cuff. Welcome to Auto Off Topic. What's up, Brad?
Oh, not too much, Andrew. What's up with you?
Yeah, we're just discussing what the screens look like. So a little bit of inside baseball there. Yeah, we're just
You too can know if you want to be a guest.
yeah, it's just a white void that you speak into.
Honestly, it's a white void with my initial and your initial in the middle of it. And
Yeah.
it tells me when you started and stopped recording, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, no secret sauce here. Just us winging it every time.
And if you didn't know that already, you haven't been paying attention.
Yeah. But that's what you get.
Speaking of which, I have been increasingly frustrated with general things in life in the world, and everything becoming a scam and becoming what do we call it, the enshittification of things.
Yep.
So
Grift.
I just want to thank everybody for sticking around with something that's been shitty since the beginning, so that there's no chance of disappointment. So thanks for sticking with us. We will continue to be the same level of enshittified that we have been since 2016, 2015, 2016, 2016. And nothing is changing. Everything is staying the same. There is no charge for this every week, and there is no bonus content behind a paywall, and there won't be, because I am mad about everything in life being behind a paywall. So, therefore, it will never happen here.
We're just going to give it away for free. Even if it's not that
100%, because
good,
we do this.
you can have it for
Yeah.
free.
You can't complain. And because it's free, if you complain, we'll just ignore you. So it's fine. Actually, that's not true, because we have made improvements because of constructive criticism. So yeah, don't complain. Constructively criticize. That's probably the way to do it. I'm just super annoyed. We were talking before the podcast started about what people are charging for things and how much things cost, and not even just goods and certain goods. Like, I think I was talking about an Audi dealer here in town that was trying to get me to pay them 30 hours to replace front control arms and a strut. So at $295 an hour. So just frustrated today. That's where that comes from. So anyway, everything's getting crappy. We started there. We'll stay there. We'll stay there. And we appreciate everybody who comes along for the ride.
Yeah, I'm trying to set a goal for myself to actually come up with some topics again.
Yes.
For at least next month or the beginning of the year. But yeah, we do appreciate people sticking around. We are just very much, we used to do topics quite a while ago. Now it just turned into sort of an updates, just kind of conversational podcast thing. Kind of low risk, low risk, easy to make. And that's why we don't charge anything for it, because that's silly. We don't want to. And I don't like when, I don't know, it's just not our vibe. So,
well, at the end of the day, we are doing this as a hobby, and we're not trying to profit off our hobbies, and you shouldn't either.
Yeah, we don't need to Brad and I are not trying to quit our day jobs over this, so we're just going to keep doing it to be fun and have fun and meet other fun car people, which we've met a bunch of fun car people by doing this. So that's been worth it to me, at least. I think it's been worth it to you as well.
To join the Discord.
Yes, exactly. Which got a revamp. I kind of reorganized it. I think it works a little better. I think you asked to have stuff split up.
A little easier to find what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Especially it moves so fast sometimes. It's easy to get lost, and now it's easier to keep up the conversation.
But all right. We'll do little project car updates. And then in this episode, after that, we'll talk. I haven't really talked much about drifting in 1/10 scale. So, if you don't want to listen to that, you can tune out to the end, or if you do, keep on keeping on.
I have questions because I am deep a little bit. I'm not deep, but I'm wading in the shallow end of the fantasy drift world, so I have questions, but we'll get there.
All right. You said you didn't have too many project updates, so why don't you go first? Then I'll cover a bunch of stuff. My dad and I have been working hard on the Volvo, trying to get it to the point where we can start it.
Excellent. I have not been working hard on anything. I did a full couple of evenings of reorganizing tools and whatnot from working on the Corolla. I think I had mentioned the fact that I had moved the Corolla out of the service bay, I guess we'll call it, and put the Mercor in there, and I had done the door handle in the Mercor. The one other thing I needed to finish on the Mercor was, for some reason, the odometer stopped working, and I have not been driving the car because I don't want to put a ton of miles on it that are not recorded and have somebody look at it and say, oh, it's got 88,000 miles on it, and then see it again in 2 weeks and be like, oh, I was interested in buying it, but I noticed it still has 88,000 miles on it, and that means that that's not a true mileage, which, to my knowledge, it is. So I didn't want to screw that up too much. So I maybe put, 30 miles on it with no odometer. But I did get some time to put the car up in the air and kind of dig around and see what was going on there. There are two distinct cables that operate the cluster. It seems to be there's a cable that goes from the transmission into this black box underneath the hood, and then a second cable that comes out of that black box and loops around and goes into the firewall. From what I can tell, that black box is something to do with the cruise control. So everything is cable driven, including the cruise control, it sounds like, which is interesting because most cars I've dealt with have vacuum cruise control, or electronic cruise control in newer cars, obviously. But this one here is a couple of cables, and I traced both cables. I was almost to the point where I was going to start taking apart the cluster and see if it was something in the back of the cluster. But I did finally notice that where the cable went into the transmission, it did not seem tight. And then I noticed hanging on the cable at the lowest point, so thanks gravity, I found the C-clip that holds the cable into the transmission. That's all it was. There was a C-clip that holds the cable in the transmission. At some point, it worked its way out of the groove in the transmission and it didn't disappear. It was just dangling on the cable. So I was able to get a pair of pliers and kind of manipulate that back in there. There wasn't a lot of room to work with it, but there was enough. It was my time investigating and fixing, not including the time cleaning the garage or lifting the car, was less than, I don't know, an hour and 10 minutes. So that is, to me, a perfect win. So the car now has an odometer and a speedometer again. Super simple fix. I haven't driven it far since I have fixed that. So my hope is that the fix works and it's not like something worse that's making it actually pop out. But I don't think so. I think it may just wasn't properly installed at some point and then just worked its way out because there's a pretty deep ring inside the transmission that the C-clip kind of fits into. And once it hits there, it's sprung like you know how a C-clip, you close the end of it together, and when it seats itself, it springs back open again. You know, it's sprung open a quite a visible amount. So I don't think there should be any issue. And then I spun it. There's a little slot in the side of the transmission, and I spun it so that the open portion is not where that slot is. Nothing can get in there and like clip it. So hopefully it works. Long term, we'll see. The car is going this weekend to a big event down in Fountain Hills, and I'll be promoting the crap out of it out there, trying to get that thing moved along. So, as any listener of the podcast knows, hit me up and I'll give you podcast listener deal. But anybody else, the car is on the market for, I'm asking 13. Podcast listener deal is a good percentage less. And at some point, that deal will be for anybody. But right now, it's a podcast listener deal. So yeah, hopefully I can at least get back out of it what I'm into it for. And that will make me happy because I have to spend a little bit of money on some stuff for the garage. And then the rest of that money is going to go back into the Camaro and the Starion. So I need to be smart with my car money here. I'm not going to buy another car with it. I'm going to be reasonable and fix some things I need to fix. So that's that. And Naomi started working on the Mustang again. So
Nice.
Updates from that will happen as well. The weather here is finally breaking. It was actually, for here, it was cold today. I think when I left the house at 11 this morning, it was 52 degrees. So it's definitely cooler weather is come. And it's working on car weather and driving car weather here. So that's excellent. Oh, talk about weather real fast. It's been insane weather here, actually. We had like a huge hailstorm yesterday. We've been raining since last weekend. I feel like I'm in New England, except for the hail part. But not damaging hail, just like accumulating hail. The grounds here look like snow. If you Google just hail Phoenix, you'll see videos from yesterday of the highway looking like a snowstorm. Absolutely insane. So anyway, but yeah, that's my project car updates. I have not done a ton. I also got the motorcycle out of storage and have that on a tender and got that all started. I'm going to change the oil and start riding that again too because summer is over here. And it's the opposite of New England here where fall and winter and spring are car season. So getting back on it. Out of my seasonal affect syndrome depression, which is summertime here. Yeah. That's it. No other. Oh, one quick down date. Do you remember I had an issue with the fuel leaking in the white truck?
Yeah.
The hood fuel leak.
Oh no. You talked about the fuel pump that failed.
Well, if you remember, before the fuel pump failed that same day, it probably was overshadowed by the fuel pump failure. There was a hose under the hood that the clamp had tightened itself into, and it cut that line. Well, for some reason, that hose is leaking again, and I don't know why that hose is leaking again. It's cracked on the end, and I had initially put that hose on. I put the hose clamp on it, and when I tightened the clamp, I wasn't paying enough attention apparently, and the tail of the clamp dug into the hose and cut a slot in the hose. Is what I thought, that slot was caused by the tail of the thing. So there was enough length there that I took it off, cut it off, put it back on, was careful with the tail to make sure I didn't do that. And it's been, I don't know, a couple months, 1,000 miles or so, and it started leaking again from the same spot. And I was like, that's weird. So I was backing into the driveway and I smelled fuel. And I was like, huh. So I'm looking at it. Same hose, same place. The tail is not in it. The hose is just cracked. It's a hose that I replaced when I put the carburetor on the truck with a brand new hose from O'Reilly's. I double checked it again. I made sure it's a fuel hose. It definitely says fuel right on it, but it's leaking again. So rather than just cut it short, I bought some more hose from a different supplier, a different store, because I was going to go back to O'Reilly's and buy more hose. But then I was like, it's probably the same spool of hose that was there when I did this 6 months ago, or a year ago now almost. So I'm not going to go there. I'll go get hose somewhere else. So hopefully, maybe the hose is just bad. Maybe the hose has been sitting in a warehouse for 30 years somewhere. I don't know. For some reason, the hose is not good. What frustrates me more is I use that same hose on the entire fuel system in the truck. So hopefully it's not a problem somewhere else and only up there where it's warm, maybe? I don't know. I don't know what's causing it. Doesn't make any sense. I took the hose off. There's no like sharp metal on the barb that it goes over. Like everything's smooth. There's no reason for this hose to have broken again. So thankfully I caught it before the truck burned down, but frustrating nonetheless. But yeah, those are my my updates.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's very weird. I don't understand it.
All right. Well, Volvo here. Been working on the wiring. That fuse block. Well, it's a relay block with fuses in it. Got that mounted in. I think we talked about that. I used a couple existing holes that were drilled for the Awuga horns to mount a battery post. Well, like a positive post under the hood. And the way this car was set up, I think I talked about it before, the main terminal of the battery, the large battery cable would go down to the starter. And at the starter was a junction for the interior power and also the alternator. That's where everything junctioned, was right on that starter post. So we basically just, because we wanted to run some other stuff, moved that junction point up onto the fender well with this positive post. And then also added in a circuit breaker from the alternator, so the alternator does anything funny, starts to overcharge, it'll trip the circuit breaker and not blow out anything else.
And that whole fuse block thing you put in there is really neat looking. Like it looks.
Yeah, it's not bad
like,
for a. Well, I mean, it's like a $40 Amazon part. It's pretty decent quality. My dad ordered this little extra, like, tiny bus bar thing that I screwed into the side of it because it's just plastic, and I just used some self tappers. So that little extra part you saw is a added bus bar, because we basically had the ignition power that would normally go to the coil. We sent that out to this box, and it powers 3 relays. Well, it triggers 3 relays. The relays are picking up power directly from the battery, of course. So it turns on ignition. So to the coil, turns on my wideband O2 sensor, so we can help tune the car, and turns on the, we put the starter on a relay. So the starter signal on a relay. So yeah, it's, we had all that wired in, wired up the O2 sensor. That worked. Bluetooth connected to it. It's funny. Yeah, I say Bluetooth O2 sensor. It means it doesn't have a gauge. It just goes to your phone. Your phone is the gauge. So that's kind of a cool thing. That's kind of a stealthy setup. It paired like super, super fast. It's Performance Electronics. It was not inexpensive. It was like $300 for that setup. But the I think the only other company that had a setup similar is PLX Devices, which I've had in the Talon for a lot of years, and it's worked really well. They were out of stock when I was buying an O2 sensor, so I ended up with that one. It seems to, hopefully it works pretty well. It's certainly connected pretty easily. What else? Yeah, basically just kind of set up all those, fix grounds. I have those new headlights I have to swap in. I still have to fix that other marker light. I didn't waste time doing that yet. I'll probably work on that this weekend.
At this point, you should just run it with one light forever. It's just the car's personality now.
No, because technically when you go get a sticker, they all have to work. Here, all the lights have to work.
Just put tape over it. They can't see it.
I'll fix it. I just wanted to do other things to move the project forward. But
I'm just giving you a hard time. So
if I should have some time, I can go back and fix it. Yeah, it's going pretty well. I've got the coil wired up. Everything is pretty much ready to go. I'm going to try to put the radiator in it and set up the electric fan. That has its own separate controller. And we're gonna turn the engine over a couple times by hand. make sure it's nice and free, nothing jammed up. You certainly don't want to hit that starter and have the thing jam into a valve or something. That'd be real bad. And, we're going to put oil in it and squirt some oil up top in the valve train and make sure it's good to go. Put the plugs in, wires, coolant. It's probably, 5 or 6 hours of work, maybe away from running, at least, like not driving, but like starting the engine up. Because there's other stuff. I want to go through the wiring inside the car a bit. I'm going to replace the fuse panel under the dash because it's got the old ceramic fuses. So I got a new fuse block for there. And I also have to clean up
myself into not doing that and doing that on the Colt since I bought it.
Yeah.
Because it also has the old ceramic fuses and they're not reliable, unfortunately.
No, my dad was saying that to me. They'll sit and just corrode. He's like, yeah, we used to have to go in, like, you'd spin them and clean the corrosion off.
Yeah, when the Colt was parked in the garage I used to rent in Haverhill, Massachusetts, I would have that problem because it wasn't, it was a pretty weather tight building, but it wasn't completely weather tight. It was not climate controlled at all, and it was a metal building, so the building would sweat and you get moisture inside the building, and those fuses would corrode in that car all the time, and I'd have no lights or no starter or something weird would happen, and I'd go in there and take the fuses out, clean them up. Also, I've been told that the modern fuses, like the replacement fuses, are not very high quality anymore, and a lot of them don't have the correct fuse amperage rating that they say on them. So that's also a bit of a concern with those older fuses. So yeah, the Colt only has like 7 fuses in it. It wouldn't be hard to replace that fuse box. I've never actually done it.
I'll send you a link after, because it's a Busman brand fuse panel, and it's set up. Well, at least in the Volvo, it's got spade connectors on either side and the fuse in the middle. So the same panel is set up that way. So it's got male spade connectors on each side, and then you can put the fuses in the middle. Strangely, annoyingly, it's an 8-position factory, so your options are like 4, 6, 8, or 10. So I ordered one for a 10. Didn't have a 12.
I mean, you might as well. Then you can add things to it.
Well, it would have been cool to have a 12. I wanted to add like 3 more positions, but I'm only going to add 1 more. So anyway, that's the way it is. That'll be all right. There's not like much else I'd want to run. Because obviously if I run a Bluetooth like head unit or whatever, adapter, whatever the heck, I don't know, what is it, like receiver or something, some sort of stealthy thing, right, to run the speakers, that's just going to run off the radio circuit.
I have a Bluetooth amp in the Corolla that runs off the factory radio circuit.
Yeah, so it's not like, it's not like I need to add anything really. So yeah, I want to work on that wiring on the inside of the car a little bit. But the issue that we had, we were like, we don't have the starter hooked up because we don't want to turn it over, but we like sent the signal wire down to the starter, to the solenoid, and it's not engaging. It's not clicking, which is kind of concerning. So, my dad messaged me. He's like, I looked at it more today, and he said he thinks it's just not grounding for some reason. There's a broken ground somewhere in it, which is weird because the starter worked. It's the same starter that the car was getting turned over with, and we did all the compression testing with, and it seemed fine. I literally took it out, put it in a Home Depot tote, and put it in the trunk of the car. I didn't spray it down with anything. I think I took a rag and wiped it off and put it back in.
You wiped the last electrons right off of it.
I guess so.
Yeah.
So there was a spare one that came with the car. I don't know why. Like, is that one bad? I never tried it. It's spray painted red, like with like Duplicolor red. So it was clearly on there. This prior owner's obsession with spraying everything red. So, and the one that's in there is not sprayed red. So I'm like, well, was this one in there and it died? And they took it out and they put a regular one in and didn't paint it. I don't know. So I'm gonna find out. I might have to bring it up to the starter place have it rebuilt, which is mildly annoying because it just died in the box.
Worked fine. Yeah.
I was like, I don't need to buy a new starter for this car. It's fine. I'll save, a little bit of money because I was like,
I'm sure it's some aftermarket part that he bought, and as all aftermarket parts are nowadays, it just has a limited lifetime use, and doesn't matter if it's you can use or not. It just expires one day.
It's like gives it up.
Yeah,
because it was like the alternator was totally wrong, so I had to replace the alternator with the correct one. So it's just like little things that you're like, oh, I'll save a little bit of money because it already has these things. I don't need to buy them. Nope. Yep. Sorry. But whatever. It's just like this is just like project car stuff. It's not like, the luxury here is that it's not my daily driver and I don't, it can leave me stranded anywhere.
You would not have gotten to work in the past year and a half.
Yeah, I'd be walking a lot. But yeah, it's getting there. I think I'm gonna do some. It's this time of the year. I got to do all the snow tires and the cars on Saturday. But so that's the plan. It's like snow tire Saturday and cranking out the rest of this. There's only a few more things to wire, at least for the engine.
Coolant.
Yeah. Well, I have fresh coolant to go in there. So.
I mean, on all the cars. Test all the coolant in all the cars.
Oh, all my cars run coolant. I don't have anything with water. They're all 50-50.
Sure, but you don't check it every fall?
No, because I know it's good. Because I use high quality.
It's one of those things.
I use a man's coolant.
That we've always done, even though all the cars have coolant in them. It's one of the things that my dad does every year, and I learned from him to do that every year. Is just use his little coolant tester and make sure they're all up to snuff.
No, I never test them. But I mean, pretty much everything I have, I've gone through the coolant systems like recently. So sure. Like it's these things haven't been sitting for 10, 15, 20 years with the same coolant in them. So, I can think, because literally in the last 5 years, I did like the aluminum radiator on the Talon, the aluminum radiator on the Glant. The Montero got a new radiator, and it's also had like heater hoses burst in that time period, so it's had new coolant put in several times.
It's one of those things that different people have different routines, and one of my routines always in the wintertime in the East Coast was check the coolant in all the cars. Yeah,
let's see. G20 got because I took the radiator out to do the header, so that got new coolant and a new thermostat. So yeah, I have high confidence my coolant's okay. They do need to get they should get washed, at least the G20 and the truck Montero. I don't have a cover for it anymore. Yeah, we're drifting away from the Volvo here. The Volvo's pretty much, I think I was wrapped up with that story. So it's just gonna kind of try to work on it a bunch this Saturday, get it really, really close. And I ordered so we're gonna run it off a jerry can because the gas in the tank is bad. You can smell it if you get near the tank. Or we open the gas cap. So I gotta siphon that out. I'm not gonna worry about it right now. We're gonna run it off a jerry can. I did buy the recommended electric fuel pump that everyone was recommended. I'll just have that extra. My dad was suggesting we're just going to run the electric pump from the jerry can into the mechanical pump just to make sure it doesn't struggle to pull fuel out of the jerry can. I don't know. Just make sure it stays primed. And I got some, interestingly, you really got to be careful running those plastic fuel filters, right? Because they can melt. You ever heard of that? Having them melt? No? Yeah, my dad was saying a lot of people run them on Volkswagens, and where they are on Volkswagens, they'll end up melting, and then you'll have they'll have the car go up in flames because all the fuel comes out. So, Dorman actually, they're pretty inexpensive, sells a replaceable element fuel filter that is also glass. So you can see it, but it's glass and metal, so it's not going to melt unless it got like insanely hot.
So you're saying the plastic fuel filters melt?
Yeah, like the plastic see-through ones.
The ones that I have in all my cars.
Yeah, well, as long as they're not near a header, or a manifold. But that's, I guess that's an issue on like vintage Volkswagens, is people use them and they're up somewhere where it gets hot.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense on like a setup like yours. It does not have a cross-flow head where you have the exhaust and intake on the same side, so there's bound to be some interference over there.
Yeah,
I don't think I have anything that does not have a cross-flow head on it, so all my stuff is pretty far away. And I feel like I would see, because with cars that have one of those clear plastic filters on them, I feel like I've had it long enough that I would have seen some sign of it melting before it's too late.
I mean, they probably have to be really close to like the exhaust. But
yeah,
I was like, I'll just try this glass
I do genuinely like that glass filter you have. It's very pretty.
Well, yeah, I'm talking, that one's for the fuel pressure regulator, but I'm going to put one before the mechanical pump.
Yeah.
Well, even when I'm running the car, I'm going to run one before the mechanical pump, after the tank, before the mechanical pump, because you don't want to grind up that pump. But also, I'm sure even after I siphon that tank, there's still going to be some junk in it. So I want to see what's getting in the filter before the pump, and then I can change it. That'll be like probably part of the break-in period. After 500 or 600 miles, I'm going to change the oil and change that fuel filter. So, but anyway, so yeah, that's that Volvo's coming along slowly, but it's getting there, and I hope to have that sweet first start video. Maybe it'll be a second start, but we'll see.
The good news is that while it sucks, it's the end of the driving season there. At least it means that you have all of next driving season to enjoy the car, hopefully.
Yes, and I can still work on it a little bit during the winter, clean up other stuff.
You can tinker with it. Yeah. You can make it nicer for its debut drive than it would have been if it went out this year.
And I'm not gonna use the phone. I'm gonna bring over my nice camera. We'll set up to take a video of it. So yeah, and then everything else needs to get washed. And I've got a cover for the G20. Yeah, I was gonna say, and the cover for the Montero got wrecked, so I guess I should order another cover for that. But I finally bit the bullet and I ordered some Sonax from FCP Euro, the wheel cleaner, because I couldn't find it anywhere locally at all.
Yeah, and nobody sells it local here either.
I'm trying the Plus version because I haven't cleaned the wheels in the Volkswagen in a little while, other than the touchless car wash. Just been too busy, so it's like $8 more than the regular, but it says it's stronger, but still not acid. I don't know how this stuff works, because it works better than everything else I've ever tried,
including acid. Yeah.
Yes, it works even better than the Purple Power acid-based wheel cleaner. So I don't know what kind of magic they're bottling in it, but it works. We're not sponsored by them. We are paying for this stuff to use.
It's not cheap.
Yeah, it's not. It's $28 for a normal size spray bottle. Yeah. And I tried the turtle wax cleaner that seemed like it was pretty good. It's kind of a purpley cleaner. Garbage. Sucked. So I wouldn't know about that. But we've had such good luck with a lot of the chemical guys products. Their Diablo wheel cleaner, not that good. Like it just like it worked okay. You got to scrub.
I'm not doing this to defend chemical guys, because again, I have no allegiance to them. Whoever makes the best product, I'm going to use. But what I will say is they have the best easily available wheel cleaner, and it's good for regular maintenance of wheels. It's not good for really dirty wheels.
See,
I really like the Diablo wheel cleaner on my not daily use cars, like the cars that are garaged all the time. Take that out and clean the wheels when the car's not dirty. I'll use that stuff, and it works really well for that. But yeah, you do still touch the wheel, unfortunately.
See, I prefer I find the Purple Power works better than that stuff, but it's acid based. You have to be careful with it.
That's why I don't use the purple power, because it's acid based, and most of my cars have aftermarket wheels that are clear coated.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the one I use. It's the clear coat's usually not the problem. It's when you have any raw aluminum is bad. It'll dull it.
No, I just don't want to use acid based wheel cleaner on anything that's not bare metal.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I got going on, and the mega problem is that the All-Track, the brake kit I bought, dusts like crazy. So, yeah. Anyway, let's talk some. That's all regular size project cars. I think we're gonna talk some scale RC project cars and RC drifting. But I don't know, real quick, cleaning RC cars, because they do get dirty. I was looking into that, and like, there's different like RC washes, or some people use like bike wash. And I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, what are these things most likely? Is that they're just like a mild soap and in a spray bottle. So I just took some Dawn dish soap and just diluted it in a spray bottle. And, you don't soak. A lot of the modern electronics are actually pretty well waterproof.
Yeah, most of them are at least water resistant.
Yeah. I just didn't soak anything, but just kind of lightly spray it if you need to. You can take a microfiber, kind of wipe stuff down. But then the compressed air, I did that to all the ones that were dirty from, like, the buggies were dirty from being out in the mud and the dirt. They came out really good. They look great. And you know that
you
it's
live
like
on the coast. I figure you just dunk them in the ocean.
Yeah. I mean, it's Dawn dish soap, so it's not gonna wreck your hands. It's not gonna wreck the plastic, because Tamiya plastics are kind of soft. You have to be careful with them. You don't want to use anything abrasive because it'll miscolor them.
It'll etch them pretty badly.
So that was my solution for that. That's a little tip.
The only issue with using Dawn dish soap on things is that anything that you have shiny or coated in something, it's a grease cutter, and it will take off any kind of like waxes or coatings or anything like that. So
yeah, I'm not really waxing my RC cars, but yeah.
Just a open thought process. I don't know what it does to like grease in the diff cups and stuff.
Oh, well, I don't like I said, I don't soak stuff. Like, just kind of lightly spray it. It kind of helps. You give it like a good compressed air blast, gets most of the dust off, and then this is just kind of a light spray, and then just spraying it off, and you're not like soaking and scrubbing it.
I have to drive my RC cars more before I worry too much about that. But
yeah,
because it's car driving season here, that means it's also RC car driving season. So hopefully I'll get more of that done soon.
Yeah, so let's talk about the drift chassis here. So I found out.
Before you get too into it,
yeah,
I have been watching your videos and listening to you talk about it and seeing all the links for things you've been sending me because you're an evil human being.
Yeah.
And I was looking into drifting here because I kind of want to get into it, but it's not cheap. And I don't want to spend the money on it if there's not a consistent place to use it, right? That's always the thing with this kind of hobby stuff. Like, it's cool to have the thing and to build the thing and to have the cool thing in front of you, but ultimately you want to use it. And the only drift track I could find was about an hour away, which isn't the end of the world.
Yes.
It's just way less convenient than your 10-minute away drift track. So, doing a little digging, you actually sent me a link to an oddly named drift team, Team Bubble Milk, here in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And they were drifting at a different track than the one that I know of. The one that I know of is Tandem RC Raceway in Mesa. These guys, it looked like somebody's backyard, but there were always like 30 or 40 people there doing it. And I was like, it can't be somebody's backyard. So I reached out to one of the guys who posts the most.
Yep.
And chatted with him a little bit, through Instagram. And it turns out that it is 100% somebody's backyard.
Okay.
But they do drifting every Tuesday and Saturday, I think. Tuesdays is like 5 to 10, and Saturdays is like 5 to ?
Yep.
So he was like, "Yeah, if you want to come check it out," he's like, "Let me know." He's like, and I'll just make sure the guys know you're coming. I'll give you the address, and you can come hang out. And I was like, "All right, cool." So I haven't done it yet, but it's on the tip of my to-do list. So, um, and I just want to once again say that you're a horrible influence because I did purchase drift bodies. And my thought process with that was the bodies that I wanted are not always available, I've noticed.
You could always run them on a
And
TTO2 if you want.
and this shop had both of them in stock, the two that I wanted, because one is a Starion and one is a E7 Corolla quad headlight station wagon. So obviously I have an affinity for both those cars for obvious reasons. So this one site that was based in the US, so there was no shipping or tariff situation, had both bodies in stock at the same time. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy them. And yeah, worst case scenario, I can run one on my old RS4 Pro and I can run one on a TTO2. But I was also looking, there's a company that sells display chassis.
Yeah.
And they're like $20. And you can build and detail a body and throw a set of wheels on it and put this display chassis under it to put on your shelf.
Yep. And you can get, if you like, because the drift wheels have a lot of style and they're vintage, some are vintage looking, you can get drift display tires. So they have tread on them and they're the right size and they'll give you a little stretch and poke look, but you just don't drive on them. They're for display only.
Right, because then they don't wind up, they don't flat spot like the actual
rubber
drift tires. Because I've noticed that most people with a collection of RC cars don't store them on their wheels.
No.
They have little stands for them. Yeah. So, anyway, that's where I'm at. So I have, as I said earlier, I'm not in the deep end, but I'm definitely wading in the drift pool here. And I'm going to go check out one of the two racetracks before I dive headlong into this because it's going to get expensive quick. And I don't want to spend the money for something I'm not going to do. So I have a strong feeling that once I go to one of these places, somebody's going to hand me the controller. I'm going to run a lap. I'm going to go, all right, time to burn down the credit card. So anyway.
Yeah,
carry on, Andrew. How you doing?
That's pretty much what I did. We were talking about it and I was like, man, it's really cool because it's super scale. That's what we're into. And it's reminiscent of when we got into touring cars. It was all about being scale. And then it ended up being like, people just made it into more performance and it's racing. And it's like, that's kind of when we got out of it in the early 2000s, like batteries were getting expensive.
02, 03.
Yeah. Battery technology was changing and getting expensive and we were just in other stuff. We just kind of got out of it. And I think we had mini Z's at the time because we liked the scaleness. Those have changed a bunch too, but we'll save that for another podcast.
Well, there's also other 1/28 scale RC cars out there now.
Yes.
And there's one that's fairly inexpensive that has adjustable width and length and takes all of the Mini Z wheels and tires. And I may or may not purchase one of those to try to mount a scale RC car body on. But anyway, a scale plastic model body on.
And there's also,
because I have the space in my garage to do a 1/28 drift setup.
Yeah, there's also small scale drifting too. But what I'm talking about is the traditional RC scale of 1/10. So they're about, I don't know, about the size of a shoebox. I don't know, a little bigger.
14 inches long, I'd say.
Yeah.
Probably.
So that's what we're dealing with. I think the wheels are they 1 inch on that scale?
Yeah, 1 to 1.5, depending on the scale size.
So, we were talking about
traditional RC car. 1/10 is the scale.
Yeah. I was talking about it with you, and I was like, you know what? It's kind of a bummer. I feel like it's kind of been around a long time. I remember when they came out in the early cars, it was like a Tamiya. It'd be like a TO1 or something, and then it's like TTO2s, and they'd have like a drift thing, but they'd be four-wheel drive, and they basically just put hard plastic tires on them, and you could drift around in like pavement.
There wasn't much drift technology. It was just take the RC car, remove traction, car slide.
Yeah, because you could 4-wheel drive drift the ones on dirt, and people just want to do that on pavement. So apparently in the last 10, 15 years, this has really advanced to now most places will only let you run 2-wheel drive chassis. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of the story here. So I was talking to you about it. And I was like, this is really cool. I'd like to get into it. And I was just like, Googled drift tracks in Massachusetts. And that was the mistake that I made because it turned out there's one 10 minutes from my house. And I was shocked that there was 10 minutes from my house because I just did not expect that. Because there is one down on the Cape, come to find out. But that's like an hour and a half away without traffic. So it might as well be the other side of the earth for me because you have to go through Boston and stuff.
In the wintertime, there's not going to be a lot of traffic. It might be fun to visit it once in a while.
Yeah, maybe.
We used to drive all the way to Lee, New Hampshire to do mini Z racing. So
yeah, it might be maybe on a way back from a Revival donut meet or something. Swing through there because there's another reason to be down in that area. But anyway, 10 minutes from my house. I was like, all right, I don't want to buy a car just yet because what if these guys are terrible and I don't actually want to be there? So I was like, let me just go pull up their website. It's very basic. It's actually the one near your house is called Tandem, right? This one's called Tandemonium.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's a play on drifting words, right?
Yep. So, excuse me. I was like, all right, let me just cough.
Yeah. You can
Have
do
a
that.
little bit
Okay.
of have some of my seltzer here.
Everybody coughs. Everybody poops.
Yeah.
Life is fine.
As long as I don't poop on the podcast.
That would be a first for our podcast. Anyway. I'm sure somebody's podcast has had an incident.
No boy.
Not ours. Yeah.
Anyway, so I was like, let me just go for like a little vibe check here. See what it's like. So yeah, it's Route 1 in Danvers. It's in the sports complex. Gosh darn it. It's in the sports complex that's up there. And it's kind of like tucked in the back, and you go up these back steps. And I walked in there, they're like, oh, you found us. I was like, well, yeah, I followed the instructions on your website how to get here. Plus, I'm from the area. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like, all right, they're excited that somebody found them. So it was only like, I don't know, maybe it was like 6 or 8 guys there drifting. But they were super cool. Met both the owners. They kind of people showed me their chassis and stuff. And I was kind of talking about, because I'd done a little bit of research before and looking into beginner chassis. And I kind of already had settled on the Yokomo RD. So it's a Rookie Drift 2.0. So it's their second version of their Rookie Drift chassis. Had really good reviews, a lot of good videos on it. A lot of people said this is a really good chassis to start with. It's all plastic. But the kit version, they have a ready-to-run version that comes with electronics. Yeah, maybe it's worth it. I really like building kits. So I grabbed the kit. And actually, when I was there, I was kind of looking at what people were running. And I sort of went, all right, everybody's running Hobbywing ESCs, basically. Hobbywing motors, the matching combo. A lot of Yokomo chassis. They also run a spec tire. It's a P tile track, so it's basically like linoleum tile. So everybody runs the same tire, which is not really a tire. It's just a hard plastic cylinder. The tire is really...
They wear?
They do wear. They last about a month, depending on how much you drive. Yeah. So, but they're only like...
I assume they're inexpensive if they last
$20
not very
for
long.
4. And
Okay.
usually if people are going to do a comp, they'll usually throw a fresh set on. But the guy, Pat, that one of the owners, he was like, I was asking him, I was like, how long did it last? He said about a month, but you'll see. He's like, you'll see they'll start getting like scratches over scratches over scratches. And then you just they had like a box of them. Maybe they recycle them or something. Just buy another set. So anyway, I was like, all right, there's like different levels of electronics. I got kind of spendy on the electronics. I bought the nicest electronics you could basically get, which are the Hobbywing drift combo. It's pretty good. I went with the more expensive Yokomo servo, their drift servo, which is programmable. I don't have the programmer for it, and I went with the Yokomo gyro. That's the other interesting thing about the drift innovation is that they switched to all-wheel drive and then someone had the idea to add a gyro to the chassis. And what it does is it will actually countersteer for you. So as the yaw of the car changes, it will countersteer in the opposite way. So it's like it has active yaw control, kind of. It's weird. And
it's very strange. I notice when people display it working, they'll hold the chassis in front of them and like twist it back and forth, and the front wheels will just go the opposite way of their twist.
Opposite. Yep.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing that's funny, it turns out I have a Futaba radio that I bought because I used to have a Futaba radio back in the day, but now the new ones are 2.4 gigahertz. You don't use crystals anymore. Right. But I bought one just brand recognition. I always liked it. Come to find out, basically everybody runs Futaba. They're like, yeah, everybody else seems to have trouble with everything else. They just work really well. I was like, oh, that works out well because I have the entry-level Futaba. I'll stick with that for a while. Because a lot of these guys have the fancy 10-channel ones because you can adjust a lot more stuff on the fly. Oh, that was the other thing. Some nice gentleman there. I can't remember his name right now. He's like, let me let you drive one of these. I was like, all right. I mean, he knows me for like 5 minutes. Let me drive the thing around. I was like, oh, I get this. This is cool. So it definitely has like a learning curve to it. But let me talk about the chassis basically. So it's all plastic. RTR version comes with friction shocks and kind of base electronics, so brushed electronics, kind of a regular battery, regular ESC. The kit comes with nothing. Doesn't come with wheels or tires, but it does come with oil-filled shocks. That's like the main difference. Everything else is plastic. It does have a differential. It's not a spool. So it's a geared differential, like a 4-gear planetary differential. And
sure,
it's
like
not,
a standard Tamiya style diff?
Yes, and it's not, so it's not a ball diff, so it doesn't act like an LSD. So it's basically an open diff, but it's very, very tight, and it's not a spool. And it's actually oil-filled. There's 50 weight oil in it, which is kind of interesting. That's new to me. That's a new thing.
Yeah. Because normally with the Tamiya kits, you build the 3 or 4 gear diff and you just grease the gears at the gear faces.
Nope. This is actually filled with oil. And one of the things you got to check for maintenance after a while is they do start to leak. And you just change the seal.
It's interesting because you would think that some sort of a spool or a limited slip style would be what you need, like a real car.
Yeah. Some chassis use a spool. Some use the gear diff like this because it supposedly helps them drift and transition easier because the car needs to change direction. So,
yeah, slightly different than a real car.
Yep. And they've got the way the suspension is set up is it actually puts tension on the CV axles in the rear. So they almost, sometimes like in the Tamiya kits, they can rattle around in the drive cups.
Yep.
These have no rattle in the drive cups. Like they're basically tensioned in there the way the suspension is set up. So you have like there's no slop in the drivetrain. So it's like constant traction.
Yeah, I was watching some build tip videos before I built that Hornet kit.
Yeah.
And it has the typical, constant velocity shafts and drive cups.
Yep.
And all the guys were like, you can take the kit comes with extra O-rings for the shocks, and you put 2 O-rings in each drive cup, and it tightens the distance, but it makes a tighter fit for the axles.
Mm-hmm.
So it does the same kind of deal.
Yeah. This is just done with the engineering of the way they did the suspension arms. And the kit also came with full bearings, and even though it's all plastic, every suspension arm is a turnbuckle, so it can all be adjusted. So it gave you in the instructions, very straightforward. It gave you all millimeter measurements of the length. So just because I knew the alignment on this was going to be really important, it's not just going to be for bashing. I actually used a mic or a caliper, a digital caliper, and I just made sure everything was within like 1/10 of a millimeter. So, because everybody said that out of the box, these are set up really well engineered from Yokomo, and it should drift pretty easily. So, it was just pretty much typical. You're cutting it off, the parts trees, trimming little pieces, typical Japanese quality, no flash. The thing went together super easy. I didn't have any trouble with it. I did have the whole thing together. I messed up the front control arms. I had them swapped and upside down, and the front was super high. And I was like, it took me a couple days like looking at it. I'm like, this can't be right. But I'm like, sometimes Formula D drift cars have reverse rake, but this feels like a lot. And then I was like, I better double check this. And I pull out the instructions again. I'm looking, and sure enough, I had them upside down, the lower control arms. So not a big deal. Flipped them over, and then the ride height was much better. I was like, all right. And the only other thing I had to do, it's a little weird, is you adjust on the shocks. Basically, what I adjusted preload, and that kind of raised the rear.
Clips?
Yeah, it's got screw. It's got coilover bodies. You can
Okay.
they're plastic, but you can screw them or thread them down. And I had to thread up the rear because there's a ton of weight on the rear, as you can imagine. The ESC is actually mounted. It comes on a plate. There's a plate that you mount to the rear bulkhead.
ESC being electronic speed control for
Yes.
the non-RC people listening.
And so that's mounted all the way out in the back. It actually has a cooling fan on it. So that's the other thing. So this ESC setup is and this motor are censored, and they're brushless.
So brushless means it does not have the commutator brushes like an old school
Yeah,
motor. It just uses magnets, right?
I guess. I actually don't know.
So what does the sensor do? That's one thing I'm not clear with.
I think the sensor helps with the throttle fidelity of how good the throttle response is, because some are censored, some are sensorless, depending on the cost. And the more expensive ones have sensors, like the like less expensive brushless setup I just bought for the crawler is not censored. So I think that's what it has to do. I know there are 3 phases. You've got 3 wires, ABC now. I actually didn't look up that much information on how a brushless motor works. I just kind of trusted the process and just followed the instructions, put it in.
Most commercial electric motors now are brushless.
Yes.
It's the modern way to do things.
Yep.
It costs more, which is why most kits, RC kits, don't come with them. But it certainly is more efficient, I guess, for sure.
Yeah. I had to solder in. The soldering I had to do was the pins for each motor wires, 3 motor wires, and then they go into each plug on top of the motor case. It's interesting. The motor talks about in the literature, it's got a cooling fan on the end of the armature, and it's like the cooling fan makes a significant sound, like kind of like a turbo. And you're like, and listening to it, I'm like, not really, but there is some debate in the RC drift world about which motor sounds the best, I guess, and people will do stuff to like make them sound cooler. I'm like, whatever. It just sounds like a whining electric motor, which kind of to me.
You get your
An
fake
RC
Tesla
car.
speakers.
Yeah, sounds kind of cool anyways, but yeah, I had to do that soldering, and then I had to solder on, this is new to me too, like almost like banana clips or banana pins for the battery. So the battery doesn't have like a traditional like Tamiya connector, which would be like the most ubiquitous plug in RC. It's got 2 pins, so a positive and negative. And the battery has 2 ports. So this batteries I got are 4 millimeters. So I have 2 4-millimeter pins that go into the battery.
Those like headphone jacks.
Yeah, basically. You have to be very careful that you don't reverse polarity, because there's a capacitor pack on the ESC that you will blow up. The ESC has reverse polarity protection, but the capacitors are sacrificial. So they're on the outside of the ESC, and I would
Well,
have to
you talk about
resolder.
soldering.
Yeah.
I remember doing soldering on some of the non-kit motors
Yeah.
back in the old days. Like if you bought or the companies like Speed Gems was one of them.
Trinity.
If you
Speed
bought a
Gems.
Speed Gems motor, it didn't have connectors on it. You had to solder the wiring to it, and you used to have to solder capacitors to the motor as well, which is probably along the same lines as like what a sensor does now, where the capacitor would, control the throttle more than just on off. So that's my
Yeah,
assumption.
I actually don't. Yeah, now I remember doing that. I remember having to solder the ends
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah, you never had to
motor.
do it when you had like a standard 540 can from Tamiya, but when you
Yeah.
bought an aftermarket motor, like I
Yeah.
said, I think I have an old Kyosho Grand Prix motor here and an old Speed Gems here from back in the old days, and they both have soldered on ends that I remember doing the soldering on the ends, especially the Speed Gems one. I
Yeah.
forget
So
whatever motor's in my HPI is also aftermarket. I forget what's in that.
yeah, I had a 10-turn triple in the FFO2. Wish I kept that car.
That's the Speed Gems I have. It's a green and yellow, and it was a 10-turn triple.
I had a purple one.
Good for about 3.5 minutes of runtime.
Yeah, I had a purple one, so maybe it was the Sapphire. But yeah, the thing would rip for like 10 minutes tops.
10 minutes. That's good. Yeah.
5-10 minutes, the thing would rip.
Yeah.
So now, that was with like 1500, 2000 mAh batteries. 2000 mAh was like, whoa.
Mah is milliamp hour.
Yep.
Again, for the RC people here.
Yeah. Well, that's actually turns out a universal battery measurement. I found out.
No, it is, but I mean, it's not a common term that everybody knows
No.
either. So,
so that's the other thing.
as a child, I thought it was megahertz.
Yeah. So that's the other thing. This chassis is set up for a 2-cell lipo pack. So like these little squares. They have 2 cells. They're 2S. That's what that means. They're 3500, which is decent size. Or maybe they're 45. No, they're 3500. Because I could have spent more on them and got larger, but these seemed like a mid-level battery pack. So the runtime is like 45 to 50 minutes, which is crazy. Like
That's
you're
a
like
lot more than it used to be.
you're like, I'm kind of getting tired here. It makes practicing worth it. You can actually get a lot of trigger time, as they say. So yeah, in general, the kit was very easy to assemble. If you've assembled a kit before, you won't have trouble. My advice is, if this was your first time ever building an RC car, I wouldn't recommend this kit. It's like you might struggle with it. Like,
Smart with a grasshopper.
yeah, buy a Tamiya kit to build first, like a cheap TTO2, and you'll get the hang of building a kit. But this kit itself actually wasn't too bad. It was like $200 for the Rookie Drift. They go up. You can buy fully optioned Yokomos that go up. There's like Master Drift one. It's like a $900 kit with no electronics, which is kind of crazy. Comes with all the carbon and aluminum stuff. You can upgrade this chassis with a bunch of carbon aluminum stuff. I think at this moment, I am just going to drive it as long as I can, as stock as I can, to try to push it as far as I can.
Just like in the real world of drift, people say, seat time over mods, right?
Exactly.
Get out there and use the car, enjoy it, learn it, figure it out, and don't make changes to it until you are 100% sure you're ready to make changes to it.
And the only reason why I bought the better electronics is so I don't have to change them later. It was like a one-time purchase because I could afford it. I was like, I'll just buy the better ones.
I am having a hard time going back and forth because the ready-to-run version is $400 done.
Yep.
So the only thing that's keeping me from doing it is I think I'd probably want to run the brushless setup because it runs longer.
Yeah.
And that
I'm
would
at
be
probably
more money to that.
Because I already own the radio. I'm at probably $800.
Yeah, it's not cheap. I have a radio as well. I don't have a Futaba, but I've had a lot of. I have a a mid-tier FlySky, and I don't have the cheapest one. I have a decent one, and they're pretty decently reviewed as well. And I've had no problems with it with my stuff, so I probably would not upgrade that unless it turns out that it does have problems. But I
So
continue to use that.
it's interesting. So like things I added, like I added the magnet mounts for the body. Those are kind of pricey, but they're really nice ones, and they have replaceable magnets that other cheaper ones don't have. And like the bodies I bought were kind of expensive because it's just the way they are right now, getting them in the country. The other thing would be I understand like the servo was not inexpensive. It's probably like the nicest one Yokomo makes. There's all different ones that you can try. They have different feel. I get it now. Like all these years we've always bought like in all the current cars I've built, because I'm just running them around the yard and just having fun with them. I just put the $20 servo in them because it's whatever. And they're kind of loud. They have plastic gears and plastic case. This one's aluminum, metal gears, high voltage, super fast. And you're like, oh, I get it. Like it's really responsive and really quiet. And you're not going to overheat it or damage the gears because you're counter steering a bunch of times. Because the gyro is trying to turn it one way and you're turning it the other way. So that's the other thing. So you have to have at least a 3-channel radio now. I don't even think they sell 2 channels anymore. I think 3 channels is kind of standard.
I think mine is 4.
Yeah, because you can adjust. You can set. You set up the gyro and you set up your endpoints. So that's how far it steers and counter steers. And then you'll set up your on the radio. You can actually set up the percentage of how much it works. So basically, like what we did, I built the whole car. I did a nice job building it. And I went to the track and I talked to the owner. Basically, he's basically like the track pro, right? And he runs the place, Pat. He had me set the gyro up to 100%. And then on the radio, you assign the 3rd channel button and you turn it back down. We've got it turned down to like 70%. So you can actually adjust it on the fly, how much action it does, I guess, because that kind of determines how it drives. So just for beginner setup, we just kind of set it up at 70%. It seems to be working fine. So I haven't touched it. Been trying to do like one thing at a time, and so you don't mess up stuff too much. As far as the alignment, the only thing I had to, once I centered the servo, you power up the first time, you got to center it and put the servo horn on. I had to do a little adjustment on the little turnbuckle there to get the wheels straight. Whatever the factory setting wasn't quite right for their adjustment, but every servo is a little bit different. And then when I got to the track, I had Pat just check it out. He added some toe out to the chassis. He's like, they just run better with a little bit of toe out. So that's pretty much all it's had. I adjusted the ride height a little bit. I'm actually going to adjust it again later, just make sure it's all even. One guy gave me a tip. He's like, I like to do like 5 millimeters all around of ride height. So I'm going to just double check that it's there. I did a nut and bolt check earlier. Nothing was really loose. Spur gear was a little bit loose. That's the other thing. It's got it's an open spur gear and pinion, so you can actually adjust the gearing really easily, which is nice. I didn't.
As far as the mesh goes, you mean?
Yeah. Well, as far as the gear ratios, you can easily.
Okay. Yeah.
It just accepts universal pinions and universal spur gears. So you're not, we're limited with like some of the Tamiya stuff because the gearboxes, what your gearing choices are.
Sure.
This is not limited. You can adjust it.
Yeah, most of the enclosed gearboxes, it's like if you use the stock pinion gear, which you can't really change because it's built into the
so that's
the differential. You can only use certain size pinion or spur gears, pinion gears, whichever.
That's really
I screwed that up now.
Yeah, that's really the difference here when you go to like the Yokomo here is like a competition design chassis. Like it's made for performance. It's not made to just like bash around. And so that's the other thing. So some different chassis use belt drive, which is kind of interesting. This one is all geared. It's a fully geared transmission with like planetary gears or not planetary, idler gears. There's like 3 gears in it. And even just assembling it, I was shocked at how smooth it was. It's really a nice chassis. Like I'm happy I went with a Japanese chassis. And come to find out, they have a giant facility in Tsukuba in Japan. So that's on my list. The next time hopefully I get to go to Japan again sometime. I'm going to go to that giant RC.
Your drift car with you?
No, they have cars you can rent there. They have
figured, but
yeah, they have like a drift track, an on-road track, an off-road track. It's kind of cool. But yeah, so building it's really fun. That's my favorite part. But driving these is also really fun. So yeah, you go there, you get your spec tires. There's a little track fee. It's $20, but that's not. It doesn't matter. It's open to close. So if you get there when they open, you can run all the way till whenever they close. And it's like you said, it's not really like a hobby shop. It's more like a chill space. Just you give them $20. You can run on track. That's your track fee. And then, they kind of like, they run usually Friday nights, Saturdays. It's kind of like, 6 till whenever, right? Question mark.
Well, it's funny because $20 at the end of the day, it's going to cost you more than that to go to the movies anyway. And it's the same kind of thing. Like, and they're not a store. They're not making money by selling stuff other than tires, which they're probably breaking even on.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, I get that. That's the cost just to have something to do it, because these people rent this space. It can't be cheap renting a space, in the North Shore of Massachusetts for something. So I'm sure it's a pretty big spot. So
yeah, and
I
I
cover thousands of dollars a month in rent.
So yeah, I try to like run as much as I can because I'm usually there for like 2.5 hours. But like the last time I ran through 2 battery packs, basically.
Right.
So almost 2 hours of track time, which is pretty good.
Yeah, 2 hours of track time in a real car would cost you $1,000.
Yeah. But yeah, there's definitely like it's definitely interesting. There's definitely a learning curve. It's like we had. Oh, that was the other thing. So this ESC also has a Bluetooth tuner. So you plug it in, and it hooks to your phone, and you can like tune all the parameters. So like guy Pat did a little bit of tuning to it because there's also boost and turbo in the motors, like quote boost and turbo. So like it hits a certain RPM and it increases the power, like it would be going to like a turbo boost. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because it helps like with if you're competing, right? So you have to do lead chase. So if somebody takes off, you got to catch that lead car. You need the power to get up on the straight and get some traction and get up close to them to keep your distance, right? You don't want to let them gap you. And then it also helps with like transitioning. So you as you're going from one drift to the other drift, you can pull the trigger and get like a lot more wheel speed, and it'll help you rotate the car the other way. So it's interesting. But anyway, just like beginner, at least I've like driven RC cars before. If you've never driven an RC car before, you might have some trouble with this, but or it might not hinder you because I was not used to driving with a gyro. I'm trying to the car's getting sideways. I'm trying to counter steer it, and the people there
kind of let it ride.
Yeah, they're just like, no, you got to kind of like just let the gyro do it. You don't actually counter steer as much as you think you need to. So the first couple like hour or so of me just practicing was, they've got like a little circle area, and I was just like doing donuts in the circle and just trying to hold a steady donut around a center point, like going one way, and then I'd switch and go the other way just to try to get used to it. And yeah, I started to get used to it, and it's like it just kind of. And then the other good thing is too, when you go there, it's like watch how other people are doing it and listen to the car, what's happening, because you can hear the motor spinning up, right? So the big thing is like I was definitely at the first. I'm still a little bit am now. I'm like too rough on the throttle, like too much on off, and too rough with the steering. So, as with anything, even driving a real car fast, smoothness is king. So, as you come in, you kind of get the car. You can kind of feint the car a little bit, like an initial, literally what initial drift means. Like you feint, or Scandinavian flick would be in rally.
Scandinavian flick, yep.
In Japan, that's called a feint. So you go the other way. You go one way and then the other way. You can kind of do that and then initiate your drift. And then it's all about holding, getting a nice steady throttle. And you can kind of get that angle.
People in the modern days are familiar with that from the movie Cars. You have to turn right to go left.
Yes. So yeah, you can, once you get it and you start to get the feel for it, you can hold the trigger on the controller right where you need it, and to keep that wheel speed, and you barely have to counter steer. You may make slight corrections, but the gyro will help you hold that angle. And then one of the things I was doing was letting off too quickly, and it was upsetting the car. So you have to just kind of let off a little bit, but also you want to keep some wheel speed. So that's what I'm saying. When you go and you watch people doing it, listen to how the throttle is on the car and watch how the wheels are spinning. So you can hear the car kind of spin up, the wheels go faster, and then as they're kind of going through the curve, the motor sound might go down a little bit, but the wheel speed is still keeping up. Yeah, it's interesting. And then you can, you do have brake on the trigger, so sometimes you can hit the brake to use it like an e-brake. So the dynamics do sort of work like a real drift car, except you don't have any front brake. I did make some changes on mine a little bit to the throttle curve, so that as you're kind of off of the initial, you're kind of pulling the trigger a tiny bit. I kind of flatten the throttle curve so that there's like a small space where it's kind of even. It's not ramping up on me. So like the default is linear, right? So the more you pull it, the faster it goes. So I have it set so it's kind of like you pull it out, like the first 10 to 20% actually gives you the same amount of throttle. So it's easier for me to modulate. And I had to do that in the ESC software, because that's the advantage of having these more expensive radios, is you can adjust the throttle percentage on the radio on the fly.
Sure.
So, and I can't do that, so I have to do it through the ESC, which is fine if it works that way.
I can do it on my radio, but not on the fly.
Yeah. And then the other thing I added was a little bit more drag brake, which we know that comes from the crawler world. So
sure.
drag brake is literally using the motor as a brake. It's using the voltage to sort of lock it up, the rotor, so it's not turning as much. And in crawlers, they use it as you're going down a descent, so the thing doesn't just roll down the hill.
It's a crawl control on
real talk. Yeah. It's very cool. RC cars are very, very cool, and I think once people start to realize like full-size EVs can be kind of cool too, because there's a lot of crossover. But anyway,
sure.
I don't want to go into that. So anyway, I set some.
And there's every year more real full-scale EV stuff comes out. That's cool. Like Toyota just built that AE86 with electric motor and a 5-speed.
Yep.
And is it a little bit gimmicky? It is, but everybody who's driven it has been like, this thing is amazing.
I saw that car at Fuji Speedway. That was in the area where we were playing with the micro four drives or whatever, the mini four drives.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, pictures of it. So yeah, I set some drag brake, so it actually acts more like compression braking from the engine. So like if I let off the throttle all the way, the car will sort of nosedive as the weight transfers. That's the other thing. The suspension is really soft, So there's a lot of weight transfer.
Yeah, I've noticed that watching videos, there's a lot of dynamic motion in the bodies, like
Yeah.
more so than a real car.
Yeah.
But
Well, I'd say it's more so than what's normally in an RC car.
for
It's
sure.
more closer to the way a real car weight transfers.
Yeah, I guess a real car, it's exaggerated a little bit because of the less weight.
Yeah.
Is probably what I mean. Like a real car, the weight of the car and the stiffness of the springs obviously has a lot to do with that. But these here, it's designed to mimic that, like a soft sprung drift car. There's a lot of guys in real drift cars are running some softer springs now than they used to because they want that body roll.
So, yeah, and you can adjust the way the motor is in this chassis. I've got it up high at the stock position, but you can adjust it. You can roll it forward and change some weight. But I'm just going to run it the way it is for now. And this is like the most mild entry-level chassis that just kind of drifts easy out of the box for you to learn. Drift chassis, come to find out, get really, really wild into some names I've never heard of. Just completely random manufacturers that people have been engineering these chassis. But even Yokomo has ones that, like, I don't know if they still make it, but they had one that was a load transfer special, they called it. So like they had the battery mounted up high, and I think it would like slide a tiny bit and move under a weight transfer to help transfer front to rear weight, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I've been learning a lot of stuff about this by watching this guy on YouTube, Shredcraft RC.
Pretty good.
And
Yep.
one of the cars he has is a front motor.
Yep.
So it's set up like a real car with a drive shaft. I was like,
Yep.
that's rad.
Yeah. So one of the guys there that initially when I went, he was like, "Oh, you like Tamiya stuff? All right, let me show you this." So it's some super crazy rare chassis. He was actually running it the last time I was there. He's like, "There's only like 50 of these made." It's like dual deck carbon. The rear axle is actually from a Tamiya CC01. So like the Piero. It's a solid axle with a Watts link. Yeah.
Cool.
And it front motor. So yeah, he was running under like an old Toyota. I think he had a hatchy body on it. So yeah, like drivetrain accurate to the body.
Yep.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So there's like,
which we love. You built your crawler like that, so
yeah. So you can get basically what they're, and so apparently the deal is, what's cool about this is that as far as like drifting and comps go, the tires are the only thing that's spec because that depends on the surface that you're running on. But really, they don't really care about the chassis. Like you can run any chassis in any configuration as long as it's two-wheel drive, which is kind of cool. So it opens up this insane amount of creativity for all these different chassis. And there's if you're people who are into cars, usually we're into customization. There's tons of stuff you can do with these if you want. I'm just kind of going to run this one as is. Like I said, I do already have some plans to try. Everybody said don't convert to my chassis. Of course, I have to try because there's a Japanese company that sells these conversion kits, and their videos are pretty convincing of how well they can drift them.
Yep.
I'm going to try to convert a new mini chassis to a drift car because it can run a front motor setup. So that's already my next project I'm thinking about. But it's definitely very addicting because once you're doing it and you'll start to get in that flow state and you start to get it and you'll pull off some really long links of drifts, and then the next like corner you'll just understeer into the wall. But especially just I've probably got like 3 or 4 hours into this now. I'm really starting to pick it up. I mean, I'm not going to go win a competition, but it's definitely rewarding as you get it. And it's like fun and dynamic. And so far, everybody's very nice. And if you bump cars, everybody's like, "Oh, it just happens." Like you try not to. If you spin out, you try to get off the line as quick as you can. Or it's actually funny if you spin out and you can't get it out of the way, you just yell "car" like you're playing street hockey or something.
Yeah.
But it's and you're not trying to like smash into each other's cars. You try to be careful, but That's the other thing.
At the
It's
end of
like,
the day, they're toys. It's not like a real car, and also they're Lexan bodies, so
yeah,
they're
they bounce
pretty
back really
resilient.
well. That's the other thing. So like, yeah, I've thrown this thing on the wall several times. Nothing is broken. So yeah, that's a win, right? So like, if there's a real drift car and I'd thrown it in the wall a couple times, I'd be pretty sad.
Yes,
The worst thing
a
I've
couple times
done,
in your first 3 hours of driving.
yeah, yeah. So the worst thing I've done so far is I've got I use aluminum tape to tape the magnets inside the body, and sometimes after a while, I've had to replace the tape a couple times. But I'd rather have the tape
Sure.
rip than damage anything else. So if that's
Yep.
the only maintenance I have to do every week, that's not a big deal.
Not a big deal at all.
Um,
Well, that's rad, and I am pretty sold. Like I said, I'm still going to do what you did and go visit the drift track before I do it.
yeah.
Like it's a little less convenient for me because it's not 10 minutes away, but
Well,
I'm
it's
sure it'll be
closer.
worth it.
Is it closer than the tandem one?
It's about a half hour versus 45 to an
All right.
hour,
All right.
so it's not super close, but I mean a half hour drive is not the end of the world.
The way,
I don't have I don't have a work commute. Like
yeah,
I don't put any miles on my. It'll also give me a reason to drive my real cars somewhere.
yeah.
Like I don't
This
use
is
my cars enough because I have a work car.
this is my other thing. In the warmer weather, I'm like, all right, this is now an excuse. A couple times a week, I can take a car out for a little ride.
Yeah.
And it's like also, the way I look at it, it's kind of like, we have a Discord member that's real into bowling. It's like going to a bowling alley or something. We have a couple of Discord members
No.
that are into bowling, but
Yeah, it's your adult bowling league. Like it's the same kind of deal.
yeah,
It's just a hobby to go out and enjoy. It's non-destructive. It's the cost of entry is a little bit high, but once you have everything, it's not a ton of cost to keep doing it. There's not something sitting there you have to maintain if you're not using it. Like it's not the end of the world. It's a perfect. Like I said, it's doesn't cost any more than going to the movies, and if you're doing it for 2 or 3 hours, it's the same kind of length. So sounds like a good
yeah,
night to me.
I wanted something that clearly, obviously, from this podcast, we're very much into cars. I like doing the scaleness of them. That's the other thing. Everybody there is like real into like, or not everybody, but a lot of the people are really into making like nice bodies. I've seen several people that have done really nice paint jobs in some bodies. And they all liked my paint job. They're like, "Oh wow, you painted that?" I was like, "Yeah, I did.
We have a background with this stuff.
Yeah, I'm not exactly new, but I'm back in it."
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's it's like a little excuse to get out of the house a little bit, like not have screen time, sit home and watch TV on the weeknight,
Sure.
and just like do something that's like in the real world. And
Yeah. Well, the cool thing is that one of the nights that they race here is Wednesdays, and Wednesdays is one of the nights that Naomi rides her bicycle. So it's like perfect. We both have our thing on Wednesday nights now, right? Like something to do.
yeah, that's
So,
the way I'm looking at it. Especially here, it's getting cold now, so if I'm not away on the
yeah, and it'll be
weekend,
really cool here too in the summertime when it's 120 degrees.
yeah.
It'll give me that like car thing that I need to keep my brain happy because I get so upset when I just work every day and drive my work Camry and don't do anything fun with cars. It's like it hurts. It'll be nice to have something like this.
The other thing I want to
So,
do too is I want to bring my camera, and when they do competitions, I like to take some pictures of people competing. I'm like, this is a lot easier than going to a racetrack. I'm not out in the sun. I don't have a
Yep.
4,000-pound car that might smash into me. It's just a 10-pound RC car.
And I
maybe
bet nobody's doing
it's
that
made of
for
shit.
them, and they'll probably appreciate it.
Yeah, it's just fun. I don't. Yeah,
Cool.
I just want to do it for fun.
Yeah.
So
Sweet.
that is scale drifting.
That is a good rundown. Yeah,
There's
I'm
also a
sold.
really good American drift magazine for scale drifting. So it's called Dark Mag, DARC. So it's like Drift America RC, which I think it's put out by a hobby shop in Dallas or in Texas. It's darkmag.com. So you can actually read each issue for free online, or the printed version kind of is spendy, $10, but it's printed media and it's cool because it's independent.
Support that.
And the picture, I'll send you a screenshot of this one. The picture on the cover of this the July-August one is an actual 1/10 scale car, but it looks super real in the picture. It's cool. But anyway, yeah. That's a podcast, I think.
I think so. I'm into it. I'm sold. You jerk.
Yeah. I think you'll have fun with it. Or, you know, I don't know. If you come visit here, I'll take you. I don't know when the next time you're going to come visit.
Well,
so.
I'm not going to be there for a while. My parents are coming out here in January, so my hope is that I'll be into it enough that next time I visit there, I'll bring my RC car with me and go run at your place.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
All right, cool. All right.
Sweet.
So yeah, definitely come hang out in our Discord. We don't charge extra for it. You can just talk to us all the time. We don't charge any extra. It's crazy, right? You can just do stuff and not charge people for it. It's wild. Sorry. We're being salty again.
We came into this podcast as we leave this podcast, angry about the state of the world. So go spend $1,000 on an RC drift car.
Yeah, exactly. Hey,
you got to spend $1,000 on bullshit anyway. You might as well spend it on fun bullshit.
Yeah, at least I'm getting something for my money. I'm getting entertainment and some activity, some brain activity. I have to, that's why I want to put the kit together myself. But anyway, yeah, come join us. Come hang out in the Discord. Follow us on Instagram, Race and Anger. That's me. Out off topic. I've been putting pictures of the drift car on Scale Autocast. And Brad, where can they find you?
They can find me at TSISS350 on Instagram, and the same 2 other places you've already listed as Auto Off Topic and Scale Autocast.
All right, cool. As always, keep cars analog and aim for the roses.